All right, welcome into another day of our daily Devos in the Psalms. Pastor Rick here, excited to be with you again today. And we are just, we were making our way through Psalm 23 yesterday. We talked about you anoint my head with oil and my cup overflows. And so today we're going into verse 6. Only goodness and faithful love will pursue me all the days of my life. And then tomorrow we will wrap up this psalm with the last half of verse 6. So before we jump in to that particular section of the verse, we're going to go ahead and read the whole psalm together, just to get the whole context in our minds. And so here we go. The Lord is my shepherd. I have what I need. He lets me lie down in green pastures, and he leads me beside quiet waters. He renews my life. He leads me along the right paths for his name's sake. Even when I go through the darkest valley, I fear no danger, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies, and you anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Only goodness and mercy and faithful love. You see what I did there? It's when you read the same translation of the Bible for years and years, it just becomes, boop, just rolls right off your tongue. Only goodness and faithful love will pursue me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord as long as I live. So yeah, we're going to talk about only goodness and faithful love will pursue me all the days of my life. And how many know that this is both a confession of what has been, and it is a prophetic declaration of what will be. And it's something where you have to kind of preach to yourself to remind yourself of all of these things that we've talked about in verses 1-5. He prepares a table. He's with you in the darkest valley. He lets you lie down in green pastures. He leads you beside quiet waters. He renews your life. He leads you along the right paths. All of these things are true. All of these things are good. And yet sometimes your circumstances and the situation that you find yourself in is not going to reflect only goodness and faithful love pursuing you. And actually in the Hebrew, this whole pursue is has the idea of being hunted down, like a pretty aggressive pursuit. And so it's a pretty awesome little declaration of God's goodness towards us. And I mean, goodness and faithful love. What wonderful aspects to have flowing from God's amazing character to us. It's a really beautiful thing that we get to take part of in our relationship with God. And so I wanted you also to think about it in two different ways. One is goodness and faithful love pursuing and following you, that it's coming to you, that you're going to be a recipient of these things from the mighty, loving, gracious hand of God on your life. And that's something, again, that when your circumstances don't agree, that you have to kind of preach to yourself, remind yourself, strengthen yourself in the Lord, so that you don't lose heart, so that you don't grow faint in doing good, so that you can reap a harvest if you faint not, kind of a thing. And so there's this, that's aspect number one, is knowing that goodness and faithful love will pursue you all the days of your life, that even when you don't understand what's going on, even when you have no idea what God is doing, his goodness and his faithful love are pursuing you. And it's going to become clear at some point that the revelation of what God is doing and what he has in store for you is going to become clear. It just may take some time before you realize what God's doing. Now, the second part that I want to point out is think about goodness and faithful love. If they are pursuing you, they are coming up behind you, and it leaves a trail. It leaves a trail of goodness and faithful love behind you, so that people coming after you get a sense of this goodness and faithful love. And did you know since we've been talking about sheep so much, did you know that sheep have the ability to take a piece of land that has been basically just destroyed from poor management? If you bring sheep in and you properly shepherd them and manage them, that you can turn that piece of land into a lush green pasture because a couple of different dynamics. The sheep will go in and they will eat the weeds and the plants that you don't want growing in that piece of land to bring it to a higher level of quality. Also, the fertilizing part of the sheep, right? The part that they leave behind them is so high in nutrient to the soil that it actually just turns the whole thing around, and it makes the land fruitful like it hasn't been in quite some time. And I thought, what an incredible picture of what us as Christians following Jesus faithfully should be to people around us, that we should leave a legacy, leave a trail, basically, of goodness and faithful love behind us, that we would take ground that has been scorched in the past and see it revived and brought back to life, to see lives that have been torched by the enemy and see those lives come back to life and flourish because of what we sow into them, because of what we know God is doing in us and through us. And so I just thought it was a really kind of funny, but a beautiful picture of what God can do through us if we will simply walk faithfully before him and remember who he is and walk in faith and confidence that he's going to come through. So that is the piece for you today on only goodness and faithful love will pursue you all the days of your life. Remind yourself when you're in a situation where you don't feel like it's been following you around, remind yourself of all of these things from verses 1-5. And then remember that the Lord is your shepherd and you have all that you need. And he lets you lie down in green pastures and leads you beside quiet waters and renews your life and leads you in right paths for his name's sake, just on and on and on. And then live your life in response to that love and faithfulness, that goodness and faithful love, and see it transform the people that are coming after you, and that you be like a Boy Scout, and you leave the place better than the way you found it, right? So with that, God bless you. Have a great day today, and I will see you tomorrow.